taking the time to sit down and join this interview today. Shall we get started?
Sure.
Yeah. To begin, could you share a bit about yourself and your work as a book translator?
Good morning. I'm very glad to be seen here today. My name is Thảo Minh. I'm a sorry. Good morning. I'm very glad to be sitting here today. My name is Thảo Minh. I'm from Hanoi and I am a full-time book translator.
What kind of book do you translate in your work?
I translate books that talk about social issues, history, culture, or psychology.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Now I'd like to touch on something that comes up often in discussions in your field today. So today some people believe that with recent advance in translation assisting technology, translators and particularly book translator have a rather easy job. So you just upload a manuscript and you make minor edits to the written translation and the job is basically done. So what's your take on this?
I've actually had people tell me that before. It's undeniable that recent advances in translation assisting technology has given us being translators in general, a much easier and time-efficient way to do our work. We have been using Google Translate for as long as I can remember. Let alone recent developments in AI platforms such as Google Gemini or ChatGPT have also given us a great boost in our work productivity and performance. But in terms of book translating, it's not quite like that. Here I am talking about books that are sold in bookstores by Vietnamese mass readers. Depending on the level of difficulty in terms of language, it's not 100% certainty that as you upload any of your manuscript to translation tools, you will get back something that is readable in Vietnamese. In most cases, you will need to do a lot of modifications, and sometimes the returned translation was so unreadable that you have to cross it out completely and redo the translation from scratch by yourself. Personally speaking, I once worked on a book that was written a long time ago, and the text of it was full of jargons and academic writing. So I can tell you that if you only use translation tools to work on that book, then the returned translation to what you expect can only be as high as 50% or even 10%, which is far from okay. I did really have a really hard time finishing the translation of that book. You can say that translation assisting technology has helped us a lot in our work, but the work itself is still not easy overall.
Yeah, I totally agree, because from my experience, even with the really short text, AI tools, they are not always reliable, and they can make like really random mistake within the text, even it's short, so let alone for like a book.
Yeah.
So I totally agree, and I also think that even if they are a boost to productivity, they are not reliable.
Exactly.
That brings us to the next point, which is the future of the craft translating. Do you think that translation and book translation is at risk of becoming what we might call like dying craft, similar to traditional professions such as the public venue photographers or like taxi drivers in Vietnam?
Yes, I do think that scenario is likely to take place in the future, or even in the near future, in about 5 to 10 years. As we all can see that nowadays translation assisting technology is advancing at a very impressive pace. Publishers and book publishing companies will be relying more often on AI tools to help them in translating part as a way to cut costs. That's understandable.
Yeah.
For me, that would be really sad news. But I understand that it makes sense from a business perspective. But however, from my own work experience, I have come across a number of quite a number of books that are really difficult to produce a readable Vietnamese translation.
Yes.
Even if you use multiple AI translation tools, these are usually academic books with a lot of jargons, or have been written way back in the past with very complex English writing structure. To produce to turn those books into readable Vietnamese material, book translators need to devote a lot of time and effort into researching and translating without the help of tools. Therefore, I of course cannot predict how advanced translation assisting technology will become in the future. But I can tell you that as long as those AI tools cannot fully, handle those difficult to translate books, then we as human translators still have work to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. I believe that translating is essentially a human work.
Yes.
But I think the challenge is you have to convince publishers from a business point of view, of the value of your work.
Yeah.
So then it makes me wonder about how we can adapt, how we can face these changes, the challenges in the profession. In your opinion, what does a book translator need to do in this AI-driven era to keep up with the professions and to avoid being replaced by technology, and also to make our work valuable to the eyes of the public and publishers?
I think gone are the days that book translators' only job is to provide the translation to the publisher, while leaving the publisher to take care of all the other steps in the whole, publishing process. Nowadays, in this AI era where we humans can transfer much of our workload to machines, then publishers and publishing companies will be relying more on machines to manage certain aspects of their everyday work, from translating to editing, content creation, or marketing. So I think I firmly believe that Vietnamese book translators nowadays need also to assist in selling books, especially books that they themselves had worked on. This would give a big help to the publishers and publishing companies, and create a long-lasting and win-win relationship between all those involved. But on the other hand, if book translators still stick to the traditional way of working, then they will slowly be phased out, and their roles will no longer be needed, since the editing team can take care of can more or less take care of the translating part by themselves using AI tools.
Yeah, I understand. I see. So what you mean is that translator not only they do the professional work of translating, but they also need to develop other skills such as participating in the PR and the marketing of their work, so that the public would have an accurate representation of the value of their work.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So what you say actually, I think, really highlights the evolving nature not only of the translating profession, but I think all the fields. So we need to really be interdisciplinary professionals.
Yeah.
So as we think about the next generation of translators, I wonder, would you encourage young people to still pursue this career, book translation, as a career path today?
Yeah.
And I read that it's not always a high-paying job, and I myself had experience editing books, and it's not really well paid, even though it's a really passionate job. So, would you encourage young people? And personally, for you, what inspired you to choose this career?
I think that depends on several factors. First, would they prioritize something a lot of people want to achieve called as a work-life balance, like I do, over a career trying to make a name for themselves and earn as much as possible. Secondly, you can say that book translating is like a kind of like a one-person job where you spend several hours a day just seeking skill and self-working. Some people tell me that it's very boring stuff, and some say that they can't stand being alone like that all day long. So yeah, if any young people feel okay with it, then they can consider becoming a book translator. But of course, please keep in mind that those are only like the job description that I just mentioned on the top of my mind.
And the second question, like your personal choice of becoming a book translator.
I've actually just started working as a book translator about 3 years ago.
Wow.
So that makes me kind of like still in a startup phase. Before that, I was an office worker in marketing. But by then, I found little time for myself and for my family. So one day I decided to make a big career jump to working from home. And since then, I have found it easier to achieve what I just mentioned about work-life balance.
Yes.
And I think that I make the right choice. Now I translate books that others read and try to take an active part in the so-called read more movement or khuyến đọc.
Yeah.
At the same time, I make myself available to my family and can spend much more time with them.
I would like to go back on what you said earlier about what like skill do you need to become a book translator, and I think it's really important that translators, like young translators, are aware that being fluent in the source language is not enough.
Yeah.
And actually, you should be really fluent in Vietnamese also.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When I first started working as a book translator,
Yeah.
I found out that my Vietnamese skill is much worse than I think.
Yeah.
So during this time, I still need to improve my Vietnamese every day.
Yeah, and you should have like a really good like command of Vietnamese, and also a great like depth of knowledge in cultural and history.
Yes.
And or like other fields.
Yeah.
And that brings me to like another question. Like I would like to add from the educational perspective. So translation today remains like a specialization in foreign language degree programs in university. But it seems like to become increasingly like obsolete as a specialization. And most students, they don't really have a job outcome after they finish a degree in like translation in a foreign language degree.
Yeah.
At the same time, I see that the job market really need like professional translator and really qualified translators. So I wonder, and from your perspective, and I know that you recently talked with university students, what do you think that are the skills or approach that university should focus on to prepare students who are enrolled in foreign language degree, to prepare them for the reality of like the job market in translation?
Students that graduating from translation course in universities, I think that their work performance now not only be defined by the productivity of their work, but also they need to help in improve their employers like brand image or reputation, so that it will be like a win-win relationship between the employer and also the employee.
Yeah, and that's always speaking of a job perspective. Do you agree that the translation is not always a high-paying job?
Well, you got that right. Most translators work on books as only an on and off job, something that they do in the evenings or at weekends. This is because the job doesn't pay much, while pretty time-consuming. Therefore, most people choose to do it to have an extra income or just simply out of their personal hobby. For me, aside from the earnings that I get from translating books, I also sell books that I translated, and sometimes I take on freelance translation jobs as well. It's not much, I can tell you, but in the long term, I aim to build my personal reputation, or you can call it personal brand, as a non-fiction book translator, so that more people, especially young readers, would know about me and buy more books that I translated. And so I think that's the path that I chose.
Yeah, I think what you said really reflects the current definition of work for young people, and we all have to juggle between different roles and different type of jobs. And I think it's becoming increasingly normal, like the new standard for young people who work freelance and juggling between different jobs and different sources of income. Thank you for sharing such detailed and thoughtful insights into the work of a book translator. So I now understand better that it remains a job that is a profession that is really valuable in this human touch, despite the development in AI of AI tools. Yeah. That translators also need to develop other skills such as participating in promoting and marketing the books. Also, not only work with the manuscript. Yeah. And I understand now many challenges that the profession faced in the current landscape, but it remains a really passionate field that I think a lot of young people who are interested in culture, history, and other cultures and foreign language. I think many young people still want to dive into this career.
Yes.
Thank you, and I hope to have another chance to continue this conversation with you.
That's all.
No, that's very good. Very professional. Very good.
No, what I mean is that
so,
I'm very interested in your conversation.
Could you introduce some of your books?
Sure.
What have you translated?
Okay. Yeah, maybe you can answer.
Yeah. So of all the books that you have translated so far, could you pick a favorite and talk about it with us?
This was the third book that I translated. It's about the untold history of ramen. The author, he used in this book he talked about the history of the ramen food. But taking a bigger view, he also talks about the history of the Japan as a nation, starting from the 20th century. Yeah. And this is a really good book, and I found it very inspirational.
Yeah. And what was the book that the most difficult to translate?
This is the most. I think it's the most difficult book that I have translated. It talks about the politics inside the food industry in the U.S. Mainly that some of the products that are very famous, that are very popular, are not that actually good in quality or healthy, but by the PR industry and and how they marketing their products, then the food become a healthy food.
Okay.